A very good morning to all. In the last class, we started with Chapter 5, Adaptations in Animals. And we learned about habitat. What is habitat? Then we learned about adaptation and we learned about classification of animals based on their habitat. So today we are going to learn how are animals adapted to their habitat. So for that, animals have their own features, their own body features that helps them to survive in its habitat. So today we are going to learn about adaptation of animals in very cold regions. So there are animals that can survive in very cold regions. So Arctic region. The Arctic region of Earth is extremely cold, and that region is entirely covered with ice throughout the year. And what about the plants growing there? There are very few plants that can survive in Arctic region because of that extreme cold. And even in that place, there is scarcity of food. And do you know which animal lives in this very cold region? One such animal is the polar bear. So polar bear lives in this Arctic region. And this animal has its own body feature that helps them to survive in its extreme cold climate. So today we are going to see what are the special features of this polar bear in order to survive in this Arctic region. First of all, if you see this picture, you can see the body of the polar bear is covered with thick fur. You know what is the meaning of fur? Fur means hair. So their body is covered with thick layer of hollow hair. And this hollow hair traps air that makes their body warm. That keeps their body warm. So what is the first feature of this polar bear? Their body is covered with thick fur. That means their body is covered with thick hair. If you closely observe this picture, you can see, except the tip of their nose, all parts of their body is covered with thick fur. Their body is covered with thick hollow hair. And what about the next body feature? You can see their body is covered with thick layer of fat. They have thick layer of fat under their skin. They have thick layer of fat below its skin that keeps their body warmer during these extreme cold temperature. So they have thick layer of fat below their skin that keeps their body warm during this extreme cold temperature. And the another thing is that if you see their feet, you can see they have large furry feet. Their feet is covered with good amount of hair. This helps them to walk on the ice and snow. So this thick furry feet helps them to walk on ice and snow. And these are some of the features of polar bear that helps them to survive in this extreme cold temperature. Coming to the next one. What do these polar bears feed on? What do these polar bears eat? So first of all, polar bears are carnivorous animals. So you all know what are carnivorous animals. Animals that eat other animals. So the polar bear's main source of food is seal. So seal is a marine mammal. But it is not so easy to find them all the time because the food is scarce in this Arctic region. So polar bears are carnivorous animals, and what is their main source of food? Their main source of food is seal. And it is not easy to find them all the time, so that these animals are adapted to live with less amount of food. So this animal is adapted to live with less amount of food. And when you see this picture, you can see they have claws. They have long claws that helps them to hunt their prey. So that is about another feature about this polar bear. And the next interesting fact about polar bears are, during winters, they sleep for about 18 to 20 hours every day. So during winters, they sleep for about 18 to 20 hours every day. And for the rest of the time, rest of the period, they sleep for about 7 to 8 hours every day. So do you know why? Because when an animal is awake or when an animal is moving, so they are using their energy. So in order to save this energy, or we can say in order to conserve the energy, what they do is they sleep for about 7 to 8 hours. But during the winter season, during the very cold winter, they sleep for about 18 to 20 hours in order to survive and in order to live without food. So during winter, it is very difficult to find food. So that these animals sleep for about 18 to 20 hours during winters. And these animals, the polar bear, dig den. Why do they dig den? They dig den in order to protect them from this cold. They dig den and live in its den in order to protect themselves from this extreme cold. And another interesting thing about these polar bear is, what about during summers? During summers, when the ice melts, they swim. So these polar bears are good swimmers also. So during summer, when the ice melts, they swim over long distances. So why do they swim over long distances? They swim over long distances to catch seal. So polar bears are also good swimmers. So these are some of the adaptive features of polar bears. So they have their own body features that helps them to survive in its extreme cold climate. Coming to the next one, that is adaptation of animals in mountains. So you all know that mountains are very cold region. So higher the mountains have, less air. Even in mountains there is scarcity of food and water. So even there are animals that survive in mountains, like the llamas, the mountain goat, yak. These animals survive in mountain. These animals survive on mountains. So for these animals have some features. They have some body features, right? So they have some body features that helps them to adapt or that helps them to survive on these mountains. So let's see what are they. First of all, animals that live on mountains have thick fur. Their body is covered with thick fur. You all know what is the meaning of fur. Fur means hair. So their body is covered with thick fur and it protects them from the cold and keeps their body warm. So their body is covered with fur. And the next thing is, these animals have more red blood cells than other animals. So the red blood cells carries oxygen to all parts of the body. And these animals have more blood cells. And these blood cells helps them to obtain oxygen even from less air. So we know that the higher regions of mountains have less air. And the red blood cells and these blood cells helps to obtain oxygen even from less air. So these animals, the animals which live on mountains, have more red blood cells than other animals. And what about the other feature? If you see, the other feature of these mountain animals are they have strong hooves. So what does this hooves means? Hooves means the bottom part of the animal's feet. The bottom part of the animal's feet, we call it as hooves. They have strong hooves. So why do they have strong hooves? So where do they live? They live on mountains. So for that, they have strong hooves that helps them to get grip while walking on snow and on rocky ground. So what do they have? What are their body features? They have thick fur. They have more red blood cells than other animals. And also, they have strong hooves that helps them to walk on snow and slopes. So these are some of the adaptive features of mountain animals that helps them to survive in its place. In page number 48, there are 3 questions given. First one, the natural home of living being is its habitat. So what is the answer? It is the habitat. The natural place of living thing, we call it as habitat. The second one, Monkeys and squirrels are aerial, arboreal. So where can we find these monkeys and squirrels? On trees. So animals that live on trees, we call them as arboreal. The third one, camels are. So where do they live? They live in desert. So that they are terrestrial animals. Coming to page number 50, there are 3 more questions are there. The first one, body features that help an animal live comfortably in its habitat are called adaptations, advantages. So what is the answer? The answer is adaptation. Second one, the thick layers of hollow hair and fat helps the polar bear to swim, keep warm. So the thick layer of hollow hair and the thick layer of fat which is present below the skin keep the body of the polar bears warmer. So what is the answer? The answer is keep warm. So in this class we learned about adaptation of animals in polar region and adaptation of animals in mountains. So in coming class we'll discuss another topic. So till then, thank you.